Alright guys, welcome back to another MCreator tutorial. So today what we're going to be looking at is a procedure block called loops, and there are a couple different loops that we can go ahead and use today. There is one called a while loop, and then there is another one called a repeat block. It will cancel out after a certain period of time, where a while loop allows you to continue a thing based on a condition. Both should eventually fail either way, or basically what you'll do is you'll create a crash for the game. So it's really important to make sure that the condition will fail. But we can do stuff like this, which allows us to dynamically place blocks based on distance. So we could also fill this in by right clicking as well. And this allows us to place lines of basically blocks and stuff like that. Now, with the way that I have it set up, I have it to try to find something that is replaceable. And if it's replaceable, what it will do is it will basically place a block, but there's a whole bunch of blocks in the replaceable tag, from air to water, fluids. Some plants are also replaceable, like tall grass and short grass. So those ones here, we can replace these as well. So if we go ahead and do something like this, you can see we replaced that grass block that was there. So there's also a thing that we need to do when working with while loops, and that's make sure that it will cancel out eventually. So in this case, what I have it set to do is basically run only 256 blocks away from where we right click. So in this case, it failed at this point, which is designed because I want it to basically not crash the game. So I only wanted to go a certain amount of blocks before it will indefinitely stop. So that's basically what I'm doing there. So let's go ahead and take a look at where you can find these two blocks, and then we can go ahead and start looking at how to set them up. All right, so where to find these blocks? You can go under flow control, and they'll be right at the top here. There's 3 green blocks here. There is one called repeat, and then there's blank spot, and then times. This is going to accept a number variable or number of some sort. And then we have a while, which is condition based. Basically same idea, just requires a condition to fail in order for the while loop to fail instead. And then we have this break block, which allows us to break out or continue to next iteration. We'll cover all 3 of these blocks today. So we'll start with a repeat block. This is the most easiest version, and pretty much the idea of what I could have done with this one. It would have just taken a little bit different of an approach of actually doing the same script. So it's pretty much the exact same thing code-wise. It's just slightly different for the generated part. So we won't go into the code part because it's not something that I'm mainly going to be focusing on in any of these videos, but we can set a number of times that this procedure block will repeat. So if we wanted to do something like 20 or even 3, then we can set a value there. And if we want to ever break out of the loop, we can basically go ahead and use this block here. It needs to be inside at the bottom of your script or wherever you want to break out of the condition. So basically, if we have a block here, we can use that tag from before. So if the position here is going to be basically replaceable, so we want to offset our distance first as well. And we're just going to do the north direction for when we're placing these blocks, so that will be fine. We also need to increase the value. So if this is going to happen, what I want to do is we want to go ahead and break out of the loop there. So if it's not one of those, if we do want it to continue, then we would basically do this one, which allows us to continue with next iteration, which means what's going to happen is when it gets to this block here, it's just going to start over and skip all the stuff below. So in this case, what we want to do is also increase the number, because we're going to be skipping that block below. And if it reaches the bottom here, I'm just going to break out of the loop basically. And what that will do is it'll just cancel all the other iterations that we had scheduled. So basically we have 3 of them scheduled right now. We'll increase this number to 10. just so it's a little bit easier to see the difference. And then what we're going to do is we're also going to place a block. We're just going to go ahead and grab the diamond block here, and we're going to change this to gold so we can actually see what's going on and that we know that it's a different script. So gold block, and that should be fine. So this will work for the north direction when it's placing the block. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. And we'll go ahead and change that or check that out right now. All right, so let's go ahead and go over here, and we'll go ahead and right click on here. We can see that it places all the blocks down. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's see how many we can actually get from up here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So exactly 10 blocks like we had scheduled before. The difference now is basically we ran into a block here that was going to be not in the replaceable tag, so it only placed 8 of them. So basically the exact same thing that we're doing with the while loop, just a little bit different. We're also using a number rather than a variable, so it's a little bit different what we're working with. This one was set up to fail 256 blocks, which we can see that that goes pretty far. And let's go ahead and take a look what we could do with the other procedure that we had before. All right, so let's grab our original script, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just testing for a condition. So again, when you're working with a condition for a while loop, it needs to fail in a reasonable amount of time. Now these blocks also run everything in one tick. So when you're working with update ticks and stuff like that, make sure that the condition will only run one tick, or it will basically at the very least have really bad performance. So if you're doing this every tick, then it's going to slow down your game and everything like that, and possibly freeze your entire game as well. So make sure when you're doing something like an update tick or something like that, you have a very limited time for the block to run, preferably one tick, and then have it completely shut off when it's going to do that. You can do that through a condition and a variable like MBT or a global variable or something like that, and you would just basically check if it's true. So just example, and you could just check if it's true and then have it run for that one tick, and then immediately after the loop is finished, set that logic to false. So, and that will basically allow you to work with update ticks still. Basically, you would only enable this for that one tick, and then once it's enabled, you would have to make sure that it's not going to re-enable after that. So just a quick advice when you're working with update ticks specifically. But for this, what we would need to do is something logic based. So we would have something like a condition like this, and then what I've done here is I've basically just used our height variable like we were doing with the other one, and we're setting the offset for the direction that we want. And then what I'm doing is making a first condition to check if the part below is less than the maximum number that I want to travel to, so 256 in this case, and we're getting that variable value. And then in that variable or the while loop part, we're making sure that we're increasing that value every time that we're running this loop here. And then the other condition allows us to test for the block position, and in this case I'm setting it to the north direction, so I'm basically offsetting north. I've also tested for the direction of the player, so I could basically run them based on different directions. We're testing if they're in the replaceable tag. Then we're just basically running a place block with the same position to allow us to place that particular block. So with that being said, what we could do is we could replace or check if the block is error, which is also in the replaceable tag. So we can do that, and we can go ahead and replace it with the diamond block, and we're going to make sure that the block below is going to be a gold block. And if that's the case, we also want to make sure that this condition, if it fails, we want to increase it, but if it's also true, what we want to do is increase it as well. Reason being is we're going to go back to our flow control, and we're going to continue with the next iteration, and this will basically allow us to skip the gold and this bottom part, but move to the next iteration so we can test for the next block. So basically, if this is true, all this will run, it will continue to the top again, start the next test. If it's false, this condition, then it's going to place a golden block. So in this case, if it's not error, it's going to be something different. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to minimize all this and move that to the side, and then we'll go ahead and run a quick test. So we're in game, and I need to make sure that I'm facing the right direction. So this is north, so we'll be testing over on this side. So there is a couple error blocks here. There's going to be 3, 2, 3, 4 golden blocks, and then 2 diamond blocks, and then 1 golden block at the end. So if we right click on that, you can see that we have 3 diamond blocks, 4 golden blocks, 2 diamond blocks, and then 1 golden block. So that was where the grass was when we basically went and placed it. So all the blue blocks here are going to be where the error was. So we can test this one more time. We have 2 grass here, 2 air, 1 grass, 1 air, 2 grass, and then 2 air. So if we right click on this one, we can see that we got the same pattern as where the grass and the other one is. So that's basically while loops in a nutshell. Hopefully this made a little bit of sense. Again, I can't stress this enough. Try not using the while loops on a update tick, because, or at the very least when you do, make sure that it's only enabled under very specific conditions that won't run every tick, because it will get really laggy really quickly. Your performance will extremely drop because it's running all these tests in one tick, especially with large while loop conditions. So the other thing is, if you're new, you can pretty much do everything that you want with a regular repeat block. It works pretty much the same way. It's just a little bit different with the amount. So all this that we've basically done is still possible with a regular repeat block. There's no real difference that we would need to actually change. It's just a matter of making sure that it's going to cancel at a certain distance, like we basically did over in this example here. And we could still do the exact same script that we were doing with the while loop. So it doesn't really matter which one you go with. It's just up to you which one. Generally, I like working with the regular repeat blocks because they're easier and you can do pretty much the exact same thing. So other than that, if you're new to my channel, don't forget to subscribe, comment down below, rate the video, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.